Ciao, everybody. I'm Chef Sara Elia from Lititz, Pennsylvania, and I am here today with Italians, Sicilians Do It Better.
What's going on, everybody? We're back with a great one today with a great announcement. I want to welcome you, Chef Sara Elia. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing awesome. I am so happy you're here to talk about great things that we're actually going to be proud to say we're going to be part of this year.
Yeah.
So talk to us and let the audience know when this Italian feast is happening, what it's all about, how many people are going to be there, because I was blown away to hear about that number. Because
that was pretty good.
Here in the city,
Yeah,
we don't get the thousands and numbers that you're going to get into. So it's something different, something cool. I'm excited about it. So let's start with, how did it start and where is it located?
First of all, I am so excited to be here. I'm just blown away right now to be with you guys. I love your channel. I love the content that you put out. It's hilarious. And it is extremely relatable as a Sicilian American. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. So to have you be a part of our festival, let's talk about that. So back in 2022, early 2022, me and a few of my friends, we got together and we're like, where's the Italians in town, right? And we're talking about Lancaster, Pennsylvania, specifically Lititz, Pennsylvania. And moving from Philly, I was a little nervous. I'm like, there's no Italians, because you want to find your community within your community.
Absolutely.
Right? So to find other Italians to tell me, like, this is where you're going to get your mozzarella. This is where you're going to get this. This is who has the best bread. That's important.
That's also
right?
difficult because there's a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
Correct. Lots of opinions. So, so we started our own kind of meetup, and Italians, we find each other, right? We find each other. So we ended up
yelling. That's how you'll know we're there.
Right. Follow the yelling and the gestures for sure. You are totally right. So we got together. We started getting together once a month. And, people that speak Italian, don't speak Italian, learning how to speak Italian, born in Italy, whatever. But we got together once a month to speak the language, talk about the culture, and just like I said, to get a community, right? And so in the beginning of summer in 2022, we put an email out and we're like, hey guys, like, please join us at the Lititz Springs Park. And we're going to have a picnic just to we all can meet each other now. It's 50 of us.
It was just a picnic.
It was a picnic, supposed to be a picnic. We were expecting just 50 people. And then Facebook said 5,000 people were coming. So we're like, okay. So quickly, we had about 4 or 5 weeks to make this picnic that was going to be a potluck into a full-blown thing. So now we're trying to find food vendors and entertainment and all this great stuff. So the day of the festival, it was estimated about 5,000 people showed up. Mind you, we had no permits. We didn't talk to the borough of Lititz. We didn't do any of that. So everybody was pretty much blown away. The shop owners on Main Street and Broad Street were like, what's going on? It was a crazy event. It was a beautiful day. So a couple days after that, I got an email from my co-chair, Tim Austin, who's one of my closest friends ever. And he messages me and he's like, Lititz chief of police says that he has to meet with us. And I'm like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And
I go in jail.
I didn't do it. So he's like, no, it's about the festival. And I'm like, crap. Like, obviously, we had a crazy turnout in this community park. So, yeah, they want to talk to us, right? So the chief was really cool. We had a meeting, and he was just like, why didn't you tell us you were putting on this event? And we're like, we didn't. We thought 50 people were going to show up. And he's like, well, is this something you're going to do every year? And we're like, yeah, it was successful. It was so much fun. I mean, the amount of like olive skinned people with brown hair that showed up in the park that day with all their gold, I'm like, where have you been? Like literally, where have you been? So it was really funny and it was so cool to see.
Yeah.
It was so fun to see. And like all my friends in the Lancaster and Lititz community came out and it was a cool day for families and friends
Absolutely.
and all nationalities and all backgrounds. I mean, who doesn't love Italian food, right? So between our festival in 2022 and our festival 2023, that Italian speaking group, we actually had to become a nonprofit. And since we used all of our personal money to fund the first festival, we were all in the red. We had to become a nonprofit. We had to start fundraising to put on this next festival that people were already waiting for while they were already still actively participating at the first one. So Tim went ahead with a few of our other friends and started the nonprofit. So he's the president of the Keystone Italian Project. And from there, we started fundraising, getting vendor fees for people that wanted to come and participate as craft vendors and food vendors. Last year, with our private hired security, because the previous year was so busy, 13,000 people.
Jesus.
Oh, you guys hear that? It went from 5,000 to 13,000 in a year's difference.
Did you have enough mortadella? Because that sounds like a lot.
We ran out. So, and the people were angry, and I don't blame them because I get really hangry. So I don't blame them at all. So this year, being our third festival in a row, and the town and the community has just like welcomed us so well. And Lititz is a small community where you could go to the local cafe, you could go to the bakery, you have your insurance guy in town, and you could just walk around and everybody knows your name. It's like Cheers, but like on Main and Broad Street, so it's amazing. It's amazing. And you know the names of people's dogs and you know what grade their kids are in. And coming from a big city, it was like overwhelming at first when I first moved there because, you're from Philly and we're the little sister of New York City, but we're from Philly. Like, don't look at me. I don't want you to know my name.
Right.
Like, why are you asking me how I am? Are you going to try to rob me? Like, why are you talking to me right now? You know what I mean? So I actually had to change my demeanor when I moved into this small town because I'm like,
It's different.
it's very
You
different.
got to assimilate to what's there.
Correct.
I mean, I'm sure the town probably has that one person who's the mayor, the sheriff, the cop.
It's all one guy.
One guy.
And he's a shoemaker.
Shoemaker. Right. Let's not talk about the milkman. No. But I did, and I had to like realize like who the people were in town, and then that city girl mentality, that guard went down. And the more that guard went down, the more I flourished in that town. The more that I was like, these people are my community. And when they ask you, how are you doing? They genuinely care and want to hear an answer.
Yeah.
So if you put on a really well event in this community park that's at the heart of this small town, they will come out and support you. They will come out. If you, sell a product or put on a festival, they will show up and spend their money because you are a member of their community and they only want their community to continue to grow and thrive.
Absolutely.
So when we're there, when they say, how you doing? We can't say, ask your sister. We have to actually
No.
be nice.
You have to be nice.
You're going to have to have a shirt on too.
You have to.
No. I have to have my tank top. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, I mean, they genuinely care.
Good.
They care. They really, really do. So our goal for the third Italian festival this year is not to be bigger. It's to be better.
Quality.
It's to be more organized. It's to be more streamlined. It's to, have more food because we keep running out of food. But it's to stay true to the values also too of our town.
Right.
Our town is beautiful. It is a clean town. I mean, there's no trash, there's no litter. In fact, we have community cleanup days where I unfortunately have not had the opportunity to attend because I have other things happening, but citizens of the community get together with trash bags and they clean up.
We're going to actually know what clean air smells like for once.
Yeah. Well, you might smell manure. It's Lancaster County.
That's
That'll
fine.
open up your lungs.
But it will open up your sinuses for sure. Even after 5 years, I'm like, crap, they just laid the pig manure. Like, you can smell the difference. You're in Lancaster County.
That's
Okay.
not horse shit. That's pig shit.
Yeah, that's the pigs today. Yeah.
So I have a good question.
Yeah.
Where are these 13,000 people coming from? Like, have you guys surveyed? I'm sure they're all not from the area.
So people come from far and wide, and we love to know where they're coming from. We have people from Ohio, Maryland, lots of New Yorkers, lots of New York City folk, Philadelphia. We've had people that are like, I'm here from Florida. Yeah, I'm here from Florida. So we're really spreading out because you put on one really great festival that needs work.
Yeah.
You learn from the first year. Then you put on a second that's better and you learn from that. So those people have friends and families. So this year we have even more solid support from our community, from local brick and mortars, small family businesses on Main Street and Broad Street. So this year we have Vine Bar, who imports fabulous Italian wines from Italy. In fact, they're flying in some of their producers from Italy to stand next to their wines to talk to you through the wines as you're drinking them. I mean, that's phenomenal. We have Plantique, which is a local plant boutique. She doesn't have a brick and mortar, but she takes these beautiful vintage planters and puts these pretty flowers and plants in it, and she gives them names. So last year she was a vendor and she names all of her plants. So last year for the Italian festival, she emailed me and she's like, what are some good Italian names? And I sent her tons. And then when I walked around to say hi to all the vendors and thank you so much for being here today, she gave me this cute plant named Sarafina.
See?
And I was so honored. I'm like, what? And she actually ended up becoming one of my closest and dearest friends, because you just meet people that are so cool. And she has family roots in Sicily as well on her father's side. So she's now a part of our committee. And just so many other great, the local VFW, for veterans is supporting us, and just so many other great shops.
What kind of food could people be expecting there?
So for some fun reason, we have a lot of Southern Italians involved. We really
like pane panelle.
Yeah.
Arancine.
Yeah. Lots of arancine coming. We have pizza fritta. We have
That's good.
pasta. We have a lot of stuff. Pizza, panelle, tons of stuff. So much stuff. Gelato, tons of stuff. Wine. Now, though, I will say this, that the actual park itself is dry. Okay. So we are not hosting alcohol, but next to us is our neighbor, which is the Lititz VFW, and they really do a lot for the community. They do trunk or treats, they do fundraisers for veterans and all that stuff, and they're really commendable. So they wanted to get involved last year, so they transformed their parking lot into a wine garden, beer garden situation. This year, it's going to be more organized and way more beautiful because we have the Vine Bar coming in and they're taking over that entire space. So in that parking lot, we're going to have sausage, peppers, and onions. Caballar is a deli downtown, and they're opening their Italian restaurant. I don't know when and where, but they're going to be there. So we have a lot of different food vendors in that space and a lot of different food vendors in the park itself.
Made me hungry.
I'm starving.
So
Yeah.
am I. This was not a good conversation to have.
I know.
Damn.
The people's reactions, you said last year they were upset, but they weren't upset because it's growing. But every year you learn something. So
Yeah.
it's not like you doing something wrong. It's the growth.
Yeah.
How many people does this park hold?
So the biggest event that the Lititz Springs Park hosts is the 4th of July parade. They do a parade and a fireworks show. And on the height of like their event for that day, they're seeing between 15 and 20,000 people, give or take a few thousand. But at the peak of their day, that's how many people they're seeing. So behind the 4th of July, we are the biggest event
Wow.
at this park. Now, this park is really lovely. There's a duck pond that is the whole length of the park. There's a gazebo. There's a playground. But it does get a lot of traction. And, you know, with people stomping through the park, it's a lot.
So here's an important question, at least for me. Where's the parking lot?
That's actually a great question. And I'm happy you asked that because there's actually a lot of parking.
Really?
Yeah. So we actually have, if you visit lititz.it, we had to use an Italian domain to make it official.
Of course.
If you visit lititz.it, you will actually see that there's a QR code. You can scan that too, and it'll show you on the map where parking is.
Oh, cool.
So there's lots and lots and lots of parking when you're there that day or while you're planning your trip. There's tons of pockets of parking around. There's no parking garages in Lititz, but there's lots of off-street parking.
You know, it's not like over here. It's like, hey, we're throwing a festival. Good luck.
Right, right.
Well, it's important. I mean,
Yeah.
Look, down here, all right, maybe you'll get 1,000 people in and out,
Maybe.
right? But when you're hearing numbers of 5,000, 10,000, maybe 20,000, you know, transportation is important because where are you parking?
Absolutely. So, you know, there's a lot of logistics that's going into this, right? So Lititz is a really interesting town, and Lititz offers a lot. So there's a big company that does that hosts global music artists. It's called Tate,
Okay.
and Tate is in town. So one of my good buddies, who was also a customer, and I pulled him in to our committee. He's from Bologna area of Italy. And I said, Mark, I need you. You're a logistics guy. So our committee is not just a bunch of people sitting around talking about how many pizza guys you got. All right. Do you have enough Italian flags to fly? No. Like, we have a whole team. So I oversee all of our food vendors. Amber, the owner of Plantique, I brought her in. She oversees all of our crafters.
Cool.
And then we have a logistics person who's in charge of like making sure that traffic is not a bottleneck on Main Street, making sure that we have crossing guards and we have security set in place. And do we have enough trash cans? Do we have enough porta potties? What are we going to do if there's an event? How do we get the people in? How do we keep the people moving? How do we keep the pedestrians safe? Right? And if there is an emergency, do we have an emergency plan? Do we have a rain plan? What are we going to do? So Mark is really awesome, and he brings all that experience. I mean, this guy, he's a smarty farty. He really is. He's a smart guy, and he does this for a living. So in his spare time, he does logistics for the relay for life. He also coordinates the finish line of the Boston Marathon.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So he knows logistics. He knows security. He knows these things. So then we have other people that are in charge of like fundraising, and then we have PR. And so we all have a role that we all take seriously. And because we want to continue, like I said, not just growing our event, but making it an even better experience. So parking and all that other stuff, it's all on the map. It's a digital map. You can look at it. And let's say there is rain that day. We do not have a rain date because the park is booked before and after our event.
Bring your umbrellas.
Yep, bring your umbrellas. But our QR code gets updated in real time. So if anything were to happen, or we have to shift a vendor around, you know, or we add whatever, the QR code is updated in real time.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I'm pretty certain a lot of people don't know what it takes in the backgrounds to get this all set up. So for example, people may think, oh, these vendors show up, they have a parking spot, and everybody has a feast. But
Right.
the logistics and the safety and all that is the key to have a successful party.
Super organized. That sounds like that. That takes a lot of time. Just rattling all those off. I was just like, yeah, I need some Tylenol after that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. So we usually meet our festival. We have the festival the very next day. We do our gala because we're so excited for the festival, and the festival is here and festival day has now finished. But that night we all go home, we shower, we sleep because we're exhausted. But then we want to wake up the next day and we want to talk about how great it was and what were the things we need to improve, you guys. So last year, what we did was while we were planning the festival, we were also planning our after party. Now, like I said, we're now a nonprofit, so we do have sponsors and we do have donors and we have our vendors and we have volunteers. So in a way to say thank you to them and to celebrate and to, reconvene the very next day after the festival, we have a black tie gala.
Nice.
That's nice.
Okay. And for our black tie gala, it's an opportunity for all of us to finally meet each other because the day before the festival, it was really busy. It's nice to put a name to a face. Who have you been emailing? Whose pizza did you eat yesterday? That was super fantastic. So it's a great networking opportunity, and to thank our donors and to thank our sponsors. So it's always at the Log Cabin Restaurant, which is the first and oldest speakeasy in the state of Pennsylvania. And so that's where our black tie gala is. And that is open to the public. And all proceeds go to our nonprofit. So it is a lot. It's a lot. Our meetings, we always schedule them for an hour, but we're there. There's been times we've been there for 3 hours.
Wow.
And it's a bunch of Italians. So like there's arrows flying. People get heated.
Oh, yeah.
We need to have a snack. And then we're okay.
Right.
But it's a lot of planning that goes into it.
I mean, it sounds exhausting listening to even going home, take a nap, and now got to get into a suit and tie to go to an event. But the socializing and meeting face to face with people, that's also key.
Yes.
You get the response.
Yeah.
You get to know the pros and the cons.
Yeah.
And working with new people that may be coming on.
Like us.
Yes.
Hey.
It's really, really nice. I mean, people don't realize that, yes, these events take a lot of planning, but our results are so, like, to see our plans go into action and to see the community come out and people plan their like weekends around it, and they bring their families and they bring their friends. I had a thought when I was driving here today, because it took me like 5 hours from Lancaster County between New York traffic. And I had this thought, and I'm like, the first festival, when we put that invitation out there that we wanted people to come and we were expecting just a handful of people, the feeling that I got that day, because I was able to break away for a moment and just walk through the park, I felt like that same feeling you get when you're in elementary school and you invite your whole class to your party and everybody shows up. That's how it felt. Like, it felt kind of silly, but like that first year and even last year when I had a moment to like walk through the festival and just see like kids playing and like old people just hanging out and the youth and just people from across the lifespan and like all nationalities and all backgrounds. It really was humbling, because I'm like, I invited you and you came.
That's the fruit of the labor that you
Yeah.
guys put in.
Yeah. So it's really amazing, and, this is going into our third year. And like I said, just local restaurants coming around and businesses, brick and mortars that are donating gift cards to be our sponsors. It's just phenomenal. There's a lovely shop. So Lititz, when I say Main and Broad Street, our main street is actually called Broad Street.
Okay.
And then, I know that was confusing. So that's 501 is Broad Street.
Mhm.
And then the street that runs, intersects with it is called Main Street. Okay.
But that's your Broad Street.
Just switch it.
Right, just switch it. So there's so many small businesses there, right? So there's this one really boutique women's clothing shop called Tiger's Eye, and they started something that's called Venture Lititz like decades ago. Venture Lititz is our local tourism, not company, but they like organize like our whole Lititz calendar for the year. So anytime there's an event in town, like the Italian festival or even our gala or Fire and Ice in February, they make sure that our cities, our towns' calendar is up to date. They host a New Year's Eve party. They host a whole bunch of really cool stuff in town. Fire and Ice, like I mentioned, Taste of Lititz, which our friend Antonio joined us at Serafina's. And so they host a lot of events to bring the crowds in to Lititz to keep these small businesses busy during slower seasons, right? So Tiger's Eye was started by Gaylord, and for his support was really an honor because this guy is like a Lititzian, which I had to learn that word when I'm like, you're a what? So a Lititzian. So he's been there for decades, and they started Venture Lititz, I think in the 80s or 90s. And so now he's one of our like big sponsors. Zest is a kitchen store right on Main Street. And they have a cooking school, and that's where I teach my Southern Italian Sicilian cooking series. So I focus strictly on the island of Sicily. I sometimes move up to Southern Italy. Depending on my mood, I may teach a Northern Italian class, but I really teach the regional foods that I grew up on and that I enjoy eating, and I can teach you how to make it, right? So Zest is sponsoring our gazebo this year where we have cooking demos, and and these are all brick and mortars that are right in town, which to have the support of like your neighbors that are putting in money is phenomenal to be a part of that community. So it's huge, and we don't owe ourselves anything. We owe it to the people that live and shop in Lititz and have businesses in Lititz, and the people that are coming into Lititz. Like, we owe it to them to put on a really good, well-organized event.
I mean, forgive me I feel like I'm a little speechless is because listening to you talk about this town sounds like I'm watching one of those perfect towns on television.
Little House on the Prairie.
Like it sounds so warming and so welcoming.
Right?
Like, it's unbelievable.
Means our guard's gonna be way up. You're like, no, I know you.
Yo, really? I'm sorry. Sometimes, like, I have to check myself. I actually had a friend of mine who, when I would get real heated, she would say, "Hey, Sarah, your Philly is showing," and I'm like.
Just take a deep breath.
I had to take a deep breath. And she's like, your Philly's showing. And I'm like, you're right. I need to conduct myself a little bit classier in certain situations. But yeah, this town is crazy. And, earlier I was talking about coming to Philly and having this guard up. Like, I had to change the way that I was even driving in the town. I had to change the way I walked down the street.
Wow.
Well, yeah, because coming from the city, you're like, don't mess with me. Right. Like, what are you looking at?
Clutching the purse right here, making
sure
that no one can
or saying, go ahead, I dare you. Go ahead. But in Lititz, it's not that way.
I can imagine.
It's not that way. So, Lititz is the first community that I've ever felt a part of a community.
That's good.
That's awesome.
Philly has tons of neighborhoods. New York has tons of neighborhoods within neighborhoods, but Lititz is the first place where I'm like, this is my town and these are my people. And if I need a good donut, I'm going here. If I need a cup of coffee, I'm going here. If I need a cake, I'm going here. Or I need catering, I'm going there. So a beer, I'm going to this place. And we all support each other.
So it sounds like you found your home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what it's
Sorry, Philly.
Yeah.
You can keep it.
Yeah, I can't. I go to Philly to visit family, and I'm like, I gotta go. Why are you so many people walking around? So no, like Lititz is where it's at, and we have a lot of transplants. We have I mean, I'm a transplant. We have tons of people who moved into Lititz during COVID from New York,
I can
New York
imagine.
City. They bought real estate, and I have just the lady that works at Slate Cafe down the street on Main Street, who's going to be selling Italian cookies and coffees at the festival. Their baker, Justine, is a New Yorker, Sicilian American New Yorker. And she makes rainbow cookies and Christmas time when I have catering orders, because I do lots of catering throughout the year. If I have special cookie requests, she makes it.
Does she do rainbow cookies?
Oh, she makes the best rainbow cookies.
I'm not listening?
Yeah, it's the rainbow. She makes Regina rainbow cookies. Yeah, she's legit.
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
So you mentioned cooking lessons. So the word chef, when did that all start for you? At what age did you know you had a passion for the food and the cooking?
So my family immigrated from Sicily.
Where in Sicily?
Termini Imerese, so the province of Palermo. And in Italy, they call counties are called provinces. So we're from Palermo, but specifically Termini Imerese. And so my family immigrated in the 70s. So we're new to the United States. I'm the first in my family to be born in the United States.
You're like one of us.
Yeah. Oh, you must also get comments saying you're not a real Italian and all this other nonsense, because first generation don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Of course. And and that's a debate too, because it's weird. So when I go to Sicily and I come back to the States, I'm not Are you guys first generation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So maybe you guys know the feeling that I'm trying to describe. I'm not 100% accepted by the Sicilians because I'm not born there. I'm the first one to leave. Well, my family left and came here 40 something years ago. But I'm not accepted by the Americans.
Right.
So it's like, well, what the hell am I? So then you have this cultural identity crisis, and I always feel that way while I'm there. Because when I'm there, there's an aura, because you're like, well, this is my grandmother's house. And this is my cousin. And I know all these places, but I wasn't born here.
Right.
But then you go to the States and you're like, but I don't have these stories of my great-great-grandmother went to Cape Cod. I'm like, I don't have that story. My great-great-grandmother was a seamstress and had to eat day old bread because they were poor in Sicily, So it's an identity thing. So to answer your question, in Sicily, I come from a line of produce people and seamstresses and very common folk, right? I do have a great uncle, Domenico, who's obviously deceased, but he was a chef. The tall white hat and the whole bit. So when my family immigrated here, they were the stereotypical Sicilian American pizza shops and restaurants. So on my paternal side, there's, culinary. It's there. And my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, she taught us early, So another thing too with the Sicilian culture is, Italian culture too. It is a very patriarchal society.
Yes.
And unless you grow up in that culture, boys and girls, you're not equal, really. You're really, really not. I mean, now the generations are changing and I'm a cycle breaker. But even, in my childhood, which wasn't that long ago, my brothers could do things that me and my sister couldn't. And I grew up in a Sicilian household in the United States. So it was interesting. So at a young age, I was learning how to pack a mocha pot, 5, 6 years old, how to properly make a mocha pot, how to serve, right? How to properly stir pasta in a pot, how to tend to your father and do this and do that, which I always had it in me to continue the tradition to do food. Are you hungry? Do you need something? Why are you upset? You're hungry. It always goes back to food, right? So my grandmother, she was all about family. She was all about tradition. She was all about, like, she was a seamstress. So I remember watching her, like, how to do things and trying to teach me and my sister how to, like, sew buttons and fix stuff and mend stuff and hem stuff. And my great aunts, which are her sisters, are seamstresses as well. So either you're a seamstress or you did something with food or you were a stay-at-home wife. Well, this is America. I'm not going to do any of those things. So in fact, my parents had an Italian restaurant and a pizza shop, and I went to school, grade school and elementary school. And I was that stereotype where, oh, that's Sara. Her family's connected and they own a pizza shop. But that's how you grow up. Like, that was just like the rumor around you, right? So, but I knew, like, I saw how hard my parents worked at the pizza shop and it's long, laborious work. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I went into the nursing field.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that coming.
I was like, not doing it, not doing this immigrant crap, like, not doing it. I want to get away, like, whatever, right? But I wasn't fulfilled. I still wanted to, even with my patients. So I wasn't a really great nurse, book-wise. Science-wise, I'd read a lab and be like, yeah, guys, I don't know. She needs a meatball. Actually, she needs a meatball,
Grate some cheese on it. She'll be
right?
fine.
She'll be fine. Actually, you know what, Miss Rosa? Decrease the parmigiano. That's the problem, It's the malocchio. I know it.
It has to be that.
So bedside manner was great.
Right.
But everything else, I was like, something's missing. This is, like, not my jam. I reached the ceiling.
Patients are really dying.
I know, patients are dying. But, like,
are you?
I gotta go, you guys. Like, I'm not the one for you. So I decided to go back to my roots. And it was hard because for, like, the last 5 or 6 years of my career, I'm like, my heart's not in it. I just kind of don't care. So before I am burnt out and I really don't care and something happens, I got to go. I have to be honest with myself. But it was difficult because all those years, all the schooling, all the, you're proud of wearing your scrubs and doing all of that. I'm going to go back and do this. But when I started doing it again, it made me
It hit different.
It hit different.
There you go.
It hit different. And I was just like, I'm ready for it. Right. So now I get to share our fabulous food. I get to teach the culture and the history of the islands because I really hone in on the history of the island of Sicily. We are not Italians. No. We are Sicilians. Okay. The island of Sicily itself was not even a part of mainland Italy into the late 1800s. So it's dismissive and disrespectful when people are like, it's all the same. Okay, Karen, like that's disrespectful.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful. So God gave me a gift, which is to cook. He gave me a gift to teach and educate. And the gift of talking to people. And I lend that all to nursing and all that stuff because, like I said, my bedside manner on point. I could make my patients laugh. I could make them cry because my joke was so bad. But I made them feel really safe and sound. But it wasn't all that I had to do in my old career. Right. But then coming back into the folds, I felt way more proud of, like, my background that I was always trying to run away from. Like, you guys post hilarious stuff on your page. And, the one thing you guys post is like, oh, yeah, open up my lunch, chicken cutlet. And I'm like, oh, my God, I can relate to that. I remember in the 90s, my mother would pack us Nutella sandwiches. Now, you couldn't even find Nutella in the States. Right. So we would get it because my grandparents would smuggle it in their luggage. And to get a Nutella sandwich was a treat. Oh, is that poop? You know, because it's
shit
Or it
sandwich.
was like my friends, because I'll be honest with you, that was my lunch.
yeah,
Wonder Bread, Nutella. Not
Yeah.
you. I know him. But he likes peanut butter jelly, not me.
I love it too.
My mother was more of a modern person here. Like, she didn't
Yeah.
travel from there to here. That was my father. My father was my bordello. Like, he different. My mother, more of a, let's not make them the butt of jokes. Let's give them some American stuff.
Wow. Okay.
So I had those friends that'd be like, ew, chocolate and bread.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really love the fact that you said how the Sicilians are not Italians, because I believe in that. And I believe that the Sicilian, it's its own language. It's not labeled that way. But how do you feel that, and I've asked this before in the show, that the Sicilian dialect is actually dying? Like, why? You know, that's what I see. Well, my grandparents came here in the 60s. So the Sicilian dialect I know is very old generation. When I went to Italy in 2001, some of my own cousins couldn't understand some of the words I was saying. And I couldn't understand what they were saying. I'm like, what happened? Like, why are we not understanding each other?
So I think this is my own thing. So I have a lot of feelings about all of what you just said. So let's break it down when you talk specifically about the language. You have people who leave the island of Sicily for a better life.
Up north, yep.
Last time I was in Sicily was less than a year ago, last September. And it's lovely. And the island is still really untouched. And what I mean is there's these fabulous restaurants that I go to. My favorite is called Il Borgo, and it's in Caccamo, Sicily, which is like 20 minutes away from our town. And they have like 1,200 followers. I'm like, dude, if you guys were in New York or Philly or even Lititz, you'd have 20,000 followers. So the island is still pretty untouched. But what's happening is you do have these younger generations that leave because there still is a huge issue with economic differences between northern, central Italy, mainland Italy, and the island of Sicily. A lot of people are still in the red economically.
Yeah.
So they're leaving. They're going to northern Italy. You know, I have cousins of mine that migrated. I'm in my 30s, so his family migrated. He's a little older than me, but they moved up to Bologna. So my family left the island to the United States for a better life. His family moved up to northern Italy for a better life. Yeah. So what happens is then you're not speaking it, right? Or you're moving to mainland Italy, you're speaking Italian. Also, too, with Italian, if you're in northern Italy, there's different influences. There's French influences. If you're from Sicily, depending on where you're from in the island, there's a Greek influence and an Arabic influence. Right. So where you're from, even on the small island of Sicily, there's different cultural influences. It's very regional, right? So my feeling of it is it's kind of sad, but I think that that's what it is. It's immigration. We're still like, until the world ends, we're all going to still be migrating to different places. So when I went back, it was fun to see fashion trends that were like 5 seasons old, you know, because they're behind, but it's hot and modern there. You know, in the worlds of culinary, I was seeing trends that were like so 1995.
Give us an example.
Yeah. So one main example is I know a chef that's over there, and I know a lot of phenomenal chefs, but he does a lot of work with spheres.
Okay.
And I'm like, why are you doing that? That's so like outdated. But he gave me an interesting thought. He's like, Sara, you're bringing real Sicilian cuisine to the United States. So you don't teach fusion, you don't cook fusion. You're cooking what we eat, our like indigenous foods. I am on the island. I have to entertain these Sicilian people. So I have to bring in new techniques and new things. So that was a really interesting food for thought when it comes to culinary. So, you know, we're in the United States, so we have Italian food, Italian American food, Sicilian food. I don't do that stuff. So some food trends that are really interesting in Sicily when you go out to restaurants, they're huge on some restaurants are using bacon now.
Canadian bacon or American bacon?
American bacon.
Oh,
They're
wow.
using bacon.
Okay.
They're using, well, in Italy it's called fonduta, so like fondue, but they're doing like a cheddar cheese bacon fondue. And it's so interesting to see because, again, they are trying to be modern and bring something new to their customers. I'm doing the opposite. I'm like, no, dude, raisins and nuts is going to be in a lot of our dishes because that is where it's at.
So let me ask you a question about this. What are your thoughts if someone opened up, let's just say one of us who's lived here all our lives, we bring an actual American cuisine to Sicily? Talking hamburgers, hot dogs, mac and cheese. We're talking straight 100% American.
Yeah, I think with your younger generations, hell yeah, it'll go over really, really well. So, I mean, McDonald's is popping up. If you go to the Palermo train station, you get off at the train and there's McDonald's. You know, so a lot is changing. A lot of things to us, like I said, there's some seasons behind. A lot of things that us Americans are like, oh, we have better options. We're gonna go and eat like a whole food and like an unprocessed thing.
Mm-hmm.
In Sicily, the youth looks different than what I remember, right? They're dressing a little bit more modern, which it's a modern place, but I mean, they're dressing like a little different. They're listening to like Italian rap, Sicilian. There's Sicilian rappers that are like in their 20s.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's a whole scene. And what are these kids eating? Pizza, cheeseburgers. I mean,
Well, yeah.
pizza, but like
Our
cheeseburger.
kind of pizza.
Yeah, our kind of pizza. Cheeseburgers, you know, sushi is really big over there. And like, yeah. So it's like they are like hungry for something new and fresh. What's new and fresh to us is what they have. And what's new and fresh to them is what we have.
Right.
So cheddar cheese is not Italian, definitely not Southern Italian. But to put that in a sauce with some bacon on top, now you're talking. This is new. You know what I mean? So I think, and I've had that thought, and I'm like, you know, an American restaurant would go over really, really well over there. I mean, it kind of would. It would.
So I think so.
It would. And so I mentioned sushi. I will just say, so Sicily has phenomenal seafood. And one of the things is in Messina, they are the largest exporter of swordfish and tuna. Hence, you know, they have access to fresh seafood. So sushi is very popular over there.
Because in my hometown, I you could see when you're driving on the highway. I'm from Castellammare. You could see the tuna farms, but it's not like a farm like what you think it is. It's still in the ocean. It's huge nets.
Yep.
And they let them just grow right inside. It's still like actual growing from the sea tuna.
Isn't that beautiful?
And it's
beautiful. And it's so funny. You mentioned where you're driving on the highway, you see the water. Look, if you're in Sicily, there's two scenes you see. Either you see a mountain
right.
or the sea. There's no in between.
Right.
There's no in between.
Right.
So yeah, like same with us. Like you see the water and the whole bit, and it doesn't matter. And it's beautiful because it doesn't matter if you're like in a crazy high affluent, like Termini Alto is right above our town, and beautiful homes and you know, residential areas. And then you go a little lower, closer to the sea, and you have your more like ghetto neighborhoods. But it doesn't matter where you are, like everything is seaside.
Right.
Everything is seaside or you're in the mountains. So I think that American food would go over really well over there. Like I said, McDonald's and a lot of fast food joints are there.
Which is nuts to me.
Yeah.
Their menus are pretty crazy, though. I've seen some of the stuff that they've been showing, and I'm like, I want that here.
Yeah.
I got a great restaurant name for you over there. I'll tell you after the show. Great question I like to ask everyone when it comes to the sauce. Do you refer it as gravy or do you call it sauce?
It's sauce.
Thank God.
It's sauce.
Thank God.
You said
It is sauce.
Thank
Now,
God.
what's your opinion about people calling it gravy and why, since you're a chef? Why would someone call that a gravy?
So we have a sauce called ragu. Ragu is that sauce that cooks for 6 hours. If you tell me that you cook your sauce without meat for 6 hours, I'm going to say why. It takes 15 minutes. But when you're making the ribs and the pork feet and the sausages and the this and the that, you want to cook that down. That is a ragu. That will be a gravy. But sauce is tomatoes and basil, and that takes 15 minutes. So that is where the differential stuff is.
Right, because they keep saying, as we've been hearing loudly, oh, gravy has meat in it. That's why. It's the gravy from the meat. And I'm like, but...
Oh, God, that... Some stuff just like really grinds my gears, and the sauce.
This is great to hear from a chef.
The sauce and gravy debate.
Oh, don't worry. The minute this goes out, they're gonna call her wrong. You're gonna just watch. Just watch.
Please, I'm very sensitive. Listen, I'm very sensitive. Be nice to me, please. So one thing is, I always tell. So when I teach classes, so I teach, regional cooking, and I always like to educate people. Not just, I don't educate people from my family kitchen or from my experiences, because I've worked in global kitchens. I teach them history. I mean, I have people that are like, Sara, shut up. You're a walking encyclopedia, you nerd. And I'm like, no, because I need you to understand the history of it. I think this goes back to like my nursing days. It's black and white, and it's objective data. I'm showing you the scientific evidence of why this sauce is called this sauce. So with that being said, I am sensitive. So please be very nice.
So as a chef, you take your food serious.
Oh, yeah.
But if you had to cook yourself your favorite dish, what would it be?
Pasta with sauce. Just
Simple.
Plain pasta with sauce. Tons of fresh basil at the end. I want a peccati pasta or a rigatoni, just plain with extra pecorino on top.
There you go.
That's
thick enough to wipe it down with the cheese, with the bread at the end.
You
Gotta
understand if
pet
she
that.
lived closer to here, we'd be I'm pretty big. I think I could hit those limits.
Yeah, so food, I mean, I like the basic, just give me the basic stuff, but Italia, of course, which they sell in Lititz. I was surprised.
I would have thought, like, as a chef, you would have like this, but it's just a simple pasta and sauce.
And it all goes back to our roots. So it goes back to those childhood core memories. You know, you ever like eat something and you're like, holy crap. What is this? I remember this. Oh my gosh, it's been 30 years. Or you smell something and it's like brings back a memory. To me, it's totally just basic red sauce with pasta and some pecorino on top. That's it.
That's some good amount.
Yeah. I'm like, tell me when. I'm like, don't stop. That's me. So yeah.
So I wanted to thank you again for coming, for giving us this great information.
Absolutely.
If you could tell our viewers, where can they find this information? Where is your social media and date and time, so we could have more people join us?
Yes. Yeah. So we are going to be at the Lititz Springs Park in Lititz, Pennsylvania on September 21st, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I'll be announcing my brick and mortar. I am opening my first restaurant in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. But on the day of the festival, I will be releasing our name, our brand, and our address. So that's pretty exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Grazie mille. I'm very excited. And our website for the festival is lititz.it. And you can find me at Serafinas_Lititz on Instagram.
You heard it here, guys. Lititz, we're going to be there. It's going to be fun. Come join us. We're going to go bananas. Marcus will have his shirt on, I promise.
No, I won't.
No, he won't.
No, I won't.
Tune in soon, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.